Yes, it was my mother, later in life known as Betty Smith. Her name was Elizabeth Cowlard then. She worked at the Odeon in the Rochester. I've got some photographs here of her as an usherette. This is the picture of her. And she later was promoted to cashier, which there's also a lovely photo of all the staff at the Odeon at that present time. I remember the walls myself being covered with like a velvet velour covering. It seemed very luxurious. And you can just about see that in the photographs. Yes, so she worked there. I've also got a photograph of her advertising a film called Holiday Camp, which is for Chatham Carnival, Chatham in Kent. And she is the lady with her foot on the ball. So it was a float for the carnival, and you can clearly see it's advertising this Butlin film from 1947 when Mum would have been about 19. I noticed that it says, it was called the Majestic then, which we all remember, but it actually says Majestic Palace, which I hadn't realised until I looked closely at the photograph. And it advertises Rochester and Chatham, but it was the Rochester Odeon that she worked at. Well, what we know as Odeon. She worked there when it was the Majestic, and I believe she was still there when it changed to the Gaumont. I know that she talked about a Wurlitzer organ, and I thought that I saw it, but it might just be the memory, or maybe it was just an organist then, or a pianist. But there was an orchestra pit, and originally this Wurlitzer organ came up with the gentleman playing it. I saw Mary Poppins there, I think in 1964, and I thought I saw it there then, but it might just be the memory of Mum telling me about it. No, not really. It was quite late on in her life when I discovered that she had these photographs, and I do wish that I'd talked to her more about it. I think that Mum working in the cinema promoted a love of film and photography for her for life, really. It was a family joke that she was always behind the camera, always behind the video. She would buy the latest product if she could afford it. She had a Cine 8. We used to joke that she would cut people's heads off or go too fast going up and down the line at a wedding or something. But some of them were generally quite good, and she had them then converted to video later when video came in with music going over them, because of course Cine 8 didn't have any speech audio. And she was forever taking photographs. We often wish she wasn't just behind the camera, although we did get plenty of photographs of her. But I know that she used to, so eventually we came to live in what was Mum and Dad's home, and they lived in the annex next door, and my young children grew up knowing many of the old films because Mum was always playing them on the video and introducing them to them. And I recently actually saw White Christmas on the big screen. We had it requested at a film club that was running at Central Theatre Chatham. And I just imagined my mum seeing that when it came out in the 40s for real at the cinema. So I begin to imagine some of the films she saw at Rochester Odeon. And yes, I think it just sparked a love of seeing films and then making home movies. I think she probably left to just possibly marry and started a family relatively quickly. My dad was on national service when my eldest sister was born, and then she eventually trained to be a postmistress. She then worked in the main post office at High Street East in Chatham. Got great memories of all of that. So I think it was just a career change, possibly paid more money. She didn't really work while there were four of us girls, Linda, Mandy, Karen and myself, Janita. And she didn't really go back to work in any significant way until I was a toddler and nurseries started opening up, and she went back part-time. So I don't really know the ins and outs of that, but that was the way her career went. Her sister Eve also worked as an usherette, and my cousin tells me that her younger sister Wendy did later when she came back from Singapore.
At the same cinema?
Yes, yes. So three sisters. There were 3 sisters and a brother, Nev, and the 3 sisters all worked there. There was, I don't know whether it was a request through the cinema itself, but I do know that my mum and her older sister, Eve, were part of crowd scene or such for the film, gone out of my mind, Great Expectations. And I've bought that DVD, the original one from the 40s, and trying to find them in it because we understood that it was when they arrived at the Blue Boar in Rochester. And when that comes up on the film, the only way I can see is possibly her and Auntie Eve is 2 ladies in a bonnet in a carriage. But I don't know whether it's them or not. They would have been about that same age, somewhere between 17 and 19. So that could have been linked to maybe the filmmakers asking the Odeon cinema to see if there were any extras they could muster up amongst the staff. Yes, my mum worked at the Rochester Majestic, as it was known then the Gaumont and the Odeon. And her sister Eve also worked there, her older sister Eve, and later her younger sister Wendy. So the 3 sisters all had a job there. Mum's name was Elizabeth Cowlard. Obviously, Eve was Eve Cowlard. Wendy, I think, worked there once she was married, so she would have had the surname Cole by then. And yes, all 3 sisters worked there as usherettes, stroke cashiers. Not really. I remember being sad at it going, and I don't know whether we heard then that it was going to be an elderly residential old folks type home or not, which was probably we were in desperate need for in Rochester. But I think it was sad to see our only cinema go. Yeah. Of course, at the time, I would have been about 20, 21. So life was busy, weren't necessarily thinking about it. I'd been married just a couple of years. So when you had a quite high interest rate mortgage back in those days, you were not really spending much money on the leisure. So it saw me through my teenage years, my childhood and my teenage years. And then I wasn't really thinking about it. You didn't realise how much you would miss it. But it would be lovely to have one that was walkable to now. So many you have to get in a car or on a bus to go and see anything at the cinema now.